Let's talk about one of the side effects of this disorder in the street. If you take a look at the estimates on population in St. Louis, it seems clear that the majority of population loss now is coming from African Americans, specifically lower income African Americans. In most cases are fleeing what they see is total disorder in their neighborhoods and a collapsing infrastructure, and they're moving, mostly across the city limits into the county, but sometimes elsewhere. Because of that, you've got a rapidly changing demographic in the city, and you touched on it earlier. Most of these young professionals who are moving in are white. You've got
they're both.
You've got a shifting population balance where it seems, just based on the guesstimates now, that St. Louis is becoming less black, more white, is oddly becoming wealthier because a lot of the people moving in have higher incomes and are working maybe in the financial or tech sector, and that a seismic shift is underway, changing the demographics overall of the city of St. Louis. With those changing demographics, that is, higher incomes, some areas of the city being emptied out, how does that alter policy for someone like you?
Well, I think, first of all, we are dealing with neighborhoods, and you know we have a vacancy issue. You know we're taking down buildings. We're trying to shore up those neighborhoods mostly because it's better for the people in those neighborhoods. But those neighborhoods did not get that way 2 years ago or even 10 years ago. This is 40 years of decline, of disinvestment in these neighborhoods that we are now trying to pick up on and do something about. The shifting demographics is easy. You use the word seismic. I don't know if it's seismic. We'll know that after we get the next census. But we know that even in the last census, which was now about 9 years ago, the population that we lost in the city was primarily African American. That's not something that we want, but that is something that when there is a choice of neighborhoods. Now, in addition to African Americans moving out of St. Louis, which is a true statement, our city is much more integrated than it used to be. And so African Americans are also moving in a pretty large numbers to other city neighborhoods. And they're moving to other neighborhoods that provide, that are better for their families. Because we all want the same thing. We want a safe neighborhood for our families. We want our kids to be able to go out and play. We want decent schools. We want to go to the church down the street. We want to know our neighbors and, you know, barbecue with them. Everybody wants the same thing there. And so African Americans are moving around the city in addition to outside of the city.
But you don't see there necessarily being a change in policy or a change in direction because the average income, and I mean average income level, is going up. Gentrification, so-called, is taken over in a lot of neighborhoods. So it seems that the complexion, pun intended, of the city is changing.
A bit. Well, it remains to be seen how much, what those numbers actually are. Everything that we have now is anecdotal and some estimates, of course, which the government does. There are also a lot of people moving into some people moving into the city who are our age. People who didn't live here before, but perhaps whose kids are raised. Perhaps they've lived in the suburbs and now they want to be engaged in a really vibrant, active, walkable, fun neighborhood. So we also see that happening. So young people, of course, are choosing to live in the city. Older people are also choosing, once they maybe sell their house, to live in the city. We see this in many neighborhoods. Now, you use the word gentrification. There's a little bit of that in the city, but there is very little. Frankly, we have a lot of affordable housing in our city. Some of it is government subsidized affordable housing, of course. A lot of it is just affordable housing. Apartments, houses that are affordable to people of all income levels. And so that is also one of the great things about our city, is that yes, some higher income people are moving in, but there also is good housing in many neighborhoods. I was in a neighborhood last night, Gravois Park neighborhood. Lots of great housing there. Tower Grove South, Tower Grove East, I could continue to name them off, where there is a broad spectrum of housing available, from high-end housing to affordable housing and everything in between.